excitement, like, isn't it? That kind of commonality and the ethics of the team, with also that format that allows, if someone wants to take the middle of the circle or whatever it may be, they can do that. Great. Any others? Or yeah, school. What have you got?
We had a secondary school maths teacher. Last year's GCSE results were disappointing, so we wanted better than expected progress from all students, and a visual artist with a background in street art and mosaics.
Okay, and what did you come up with?
Well, we're thinking about perhaps some kind of project that the students would have to manage itself, so designated space that they would have to work out a budget for, providing everything. And mosaics being about pattern and number, we figured there was quite a lot of maths in that anyway. So yeah, it's a very sketchy outline, but we thought that there was some kind of maths and art.
It's interesting how in 4 minutes we've already got the bones of 3 very interesting partnerships that didn't exist.
Which obviously we will be pinching and making into a CapeUK. Sounds very much. Thank you very much for that. That was brilliant.
So we've got 3 case studies to share with you, and these are by no means representative of everything that's happening or CapeUK's favourite projects or whatever. They're just 3 projects that I thought I'd like to share with you, and with different types of partnership. So the first one is partnering the arts organisation with educational professionals. And this is based around a Leeds company. Does anyone know blah blah blah? Yeah? They've been working in theatre and education in Leeds for about 25 years. Very, very successful company. They are an NPO, so a National Portfolio Organisation, which means they have a remit to work with young people, which is what they do anyway. And they've done 2 significant recent collaborations. One of them is Messerschmitt versus Spitfire, where they have reached out to another arts provider in Frankfurt, and they've generated a piece of bilingual, that's the word, piece of theatre, which they're going to be touring this September. They've also done a piece where they've been working very closely with the German department at Leeds University. So there's a couple of sort of establishments there, but the more interesting one for this particular example is the Company of Teachers. Now, Anthony Haddon, who's the artistic director of Blah Blah Blahs, did a presentation to some Rotherham drama teachers, and he was talking with the school improvement officer, and they thought there's not an awful lot going on in Rotherham for theatre and education, so they thought, well, then let's start our own company. So Anthony went out to the Rotherham schools and recruited 4 teachers. I think 3 were drama teachers, 1 English, and they then became the Company of Teachers, the 5 of them, Anthony and 4 teachers. And they spent a year, not a full year obviously, but they spent, I think it was mainly residential weekends, where they devised a brand new piece of participatory theatre. And at the end of the year, through Creative Partnerships funding, as was back then, they then spent a week touring it round Rotherham schools. Now, as a partnership, it's pretty profound. The CPD of the teachers was just unreal, just becoming an actor again, becoming Anthony's premise was, and forgive anyone who works in the artistic field, but he said it's easier to find teachers that can act than it is to find actors that can teach. And it was that facilitation, that expertise that he took back. So that was a very sort of mutually beneficial thing. This is one of the lovely quotes that I picked out from the evaluation. Can everyone read it? Is that clear enough? This is part of the process. The reason I particularly like this quote was, firstly, it shows the excitement of working genuinely collaboratively and genuinely creatively, that sense of we don't know what's coming next. One of the teachers that I spoke to who was involved in this talked very much about Anthony's dictum, trust the process. Teachers found themselves obsessed with outcome. What was the play going to look like? Which year group was it going to be? What are the learning outcomes? And he just said, just trust the process. We will find our theatre. And that's what happened. But I also like the way it brings it back here. At the beginning I asked what kind of partnerships we're already working in. Now it may be that you all thought it and we're all very quiet. I thought that's not the kind of partnership, but how often do we genuinely work in partnership with our colleagues in our schools? In theory, very often. But in practice, how often do departmental meetings, middle management become information dissemination? And that's it. When was the last time you had genuine time to sit down and think, let's plan something good? Hopefully, you can say, well, last week. But I think for an increasing number of colleagues, it's becoming very, very difficult to find that time. There's lots of studies out about partnerships between teachers from different subjects, getting together, planning together, observing together, sometimes just on 2 or 3 students, and really getting some quite sort of hard data on the impact of working collaboratively like that. The next case study, again, it's an arts organisation, but this time it's more directly with the students themselves, and I love this one. Does anyone know Goole? In Hull. Goole is not, I don't think I'm betraying anyone from Goole to say, it's not the epicentre of the arts. There's not loads and loads going on there, but what they do have is Junction. And Junction is a cinema, arts centre, cafe. It's pretty much what Goole have got going on. And Junction linked up with a primary school, and they embarked on a takeover festival. This has been very, very successfully done through York Theatre Royal, and they thought, you know what, we'll have a bit of that. And they kind of pilfered it with York Theatre Royal's full consent. And the students completely took over Junction for 2 weeks. That involved programming, planning, picking up the phone and booking the acts, the budgeting. On the 2 weeks, they ran it, they did front of house, they did refreshments, everything. And what's particularly fascinating about this, I think, is that it was Year 6 students, and early that year they'd got requires improvement as a school. And rather than running straight back to core subjects, they thought, right, let's try something a bit risky. I wish I could be standing in front of you now and saying, and the impact was, they're now outstanding. We've not had the feedback yet, so I'm hoping that I can email you soon and say, look, it worked, rather than, no, they've got even worse. But that was, I thought, a really, really brave project. And I've got some things to share here. So this is just a few little images of the students, obviously nicely staged. Just look serious and look like you're booking. No, that's not a booking phase, that's a take, So the LinkedIn Arts Award, CapeUK, we are exponents of Arts Award and Arts Mark. Really, to a certain extent, they're our measures, but what they really are, hopefully, is a way of getting arts embedded in schools. If you get Arts Mark, for instance, you have a 3-year commitment to the arts, whether that's primary, proos, secondary, whatever it may be. And so, obviously, wherever we can. Now, the Arts Award, they could have done this project without doing that, obviously, but they ticked pretty much all of the boxes just by doing it. And so they've come away with all the certification, everyone's happy. This is, you won't be able to see too much of this, but this was their programme that drew up, and there's some lovely quotes in here. I'll see if I can read this. This one says, there was a session called Incredible Vegetables. I love this, and there's a little quote here that says, Incredible Vegetables, when your children get home from the show, they will ask for vegetables. I just thought, that's a great, I love that. Another one here. I think that families, especially unhealthy ones, should come and watch this show because some people are healthy and some aren't. Oh, yeah. So this is the programme they've come up with. More specifically, I think there's some really decent feedback here. I think this is really important and will take us into our third case study. Some very sort of engaged and happy students there. This is from the head teacher, it gets a little bit smaller, but I thought, again, some useful stuff there in terms of the impact that partnership had. I think this bit for me is the most important part of partnerships. I think it's those real outcomes. No matter how interesting a curriculum we can design, there's always a sense that what we're doing is we're doing something for classroom display, or we're doing something so that we can get that particular criteria moved from a 5A to a 5C, you know, whatever it may be. And as soon as it becomes real, I can know exactly what they mean. That festival brochure, it's theirs, it's out there. And I think those partnerships are really important. There's something, isn't there, about you can do a fantastic performance on the school hall, but when it's in a professional theatre, it's a complete transformation, and those students know it, the parents can see it, they can feel it, and I think that was a really nice partnership there, and this is what the Junction staff said. School whose shutters had come down as they were Ofsted noticed to improve, and yet somehow they managed to prise those shutters up and get them involved. And before we go on to the last case study, I'll take you back to that. I got to choose what had been selected. In the partnerships that I asked you to explore, who was missing? Parents
Kids.
and students. And when we can get the students involved in the planning, I think that's when we're really making kind of profound steps forward. The mutual learning triangle, as it's sometimes rather elaborately referred to, is essentially that. It's about students, teachers, artists, arts organisation, libraries, museum, whatever it is, whatever that provider is,